Tom Homan, the mush-mouth mumbler, representative of Donald Trump, the border czar, who's a former cop and a former Border Patrol agent. He's the guy who's one of these types who holds up his Constitution and acts as though he's a law and order patriot. Last Monday, 1 week from today, I got a clip of him on Face the Nation or This Week, Meet the Press, one of the Sunday shows. And in it, he is asked about where is their due process for these migrants that you're shipping off to be imprisoned for life for being terrorists and being gang members who are like hairdressers and shit. There's been no due process to show a court proving that they are what the government claims, what Donald Trump claims. They're just liars. There is no due process. And if you live here, if you reside here, whether illegally or not, you are subject to the laws. And those laws are based on the Constitution of the United States. You have constitutional rights when you're here, legally or illegally. This document applies. And so when he's asked about it, he says, they said, do they have any due process at all? And he says, due process? What was Lake and Riley's due process? That's not an answer to the question. In fact, that's an ignoring, that signals, no, they don't have due process. She didn't get due process when she was murdered, brutally, unjustified, obviously insane what took place with her. But because she was brutalized, doesn't give the government under color of law the right, the power, the jurisdiction to brutalize others who didn't have anything to do with her death. But first, last week, he was asked about this very thing, about the law, the Alien Enemies Act from 1789. And you won't believe what his response is a week out from giving the things you're getting ready to hear next. First, a week ago.
How do you determine whether somebody is a gang member? What criteria do you use?
To various investigations. A lot of the ways we do it, law enforcement sensitive. I'm not going to share all that with you, but whether through social media, through the activities, through their criminal records here and abroad. So this was done a very. The review of this issue was at the highest level I've seen. And I think, again, I stand by everything we did this weekend, and I think the president keeping his promise to the American people. We removed terrorists from the country this weekend. I can't believe any media would question the president's ability to remove terrorists from this country.
But what do you say to those who say what do you say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process?
An old law? Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
Some would say this is
How many more terrorists do you plan on deporting to El Salvador?
And we still pay attention to that. You do? You still pay attention to the Constitution of the United States, Tom Homan? Because it seems like you're not paying attention to the Constitution and all of the things, all of the inconvenient parts for you as a law enforcement official about due process. Important. In the Bill of Rights. That's how important. In the first set of 10 amendments to the Constitution, so important. It's alongside of the freedom of speech. It's alongside of the right to keep and bear arms, the most important one to conservatives. It's alongside of search and seizure. It's alongside of the right against self-incrimination. All of them. Yet you're ignoring due process. So remember that he said that. Well, what about the Constitution? It's old too. We still pay attention to that. Remember that he said that as you watch what he said yesterday when asked about this very topic.
So how do you determine, or how do your people in the field determine that somebody is a gang member?
Look, there's various methods. I've noticed in the media this week, a lot of them don't have criminal histories. Well, a lot of gang members don't have criminal histories.
Wait. That's why I call him the mush-mouth monster. What did he say? Seriously, what did he say until the end when he said, you can make out the words criminal history? What are you saying, Tom Homan? This is a spokesperson for the president of the United States. Criminal history. What? What? All right. Re-rack the clip and try to make it out. We're just going to keep going. Try. Wow. All right. Replay.
They're not in any terrorist database, right? We only know the information what's in databases based on, for instance, most terrorists we arrest that are identified by the U.S. government are later identified through a Title III investigation or through an undercover operation. They're not in any terrorist screening database. We know that. A lot of gang members, I started as a cop in 1984. Many gang members don't have a criminal history. So we have a count on social media. We have a count on surveillance techniques. We have a count on sworn statements from other gang members. We have a count on, wiretaps and Title III. So everything involved with criminal investigations come into play. So just because someone hasn't been arrested and charged with a crime yet, doesn't mean they're a member of a gang.
But how do you? I mean, what we've heard from lawyers representing some of these people is that they deny that they're members of this gang. Or either, Tren de Aragua or MS-13. Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them into a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I mean, do they have any due process at all?
Confident. Look, due process. Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that did that should be prosecuted.
Alive on a subway. Where's her due process?
Well, sure.
The bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists. Number one. Number two, every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work by ICE officers. Matter of fact, 2 days after that flight took off, I even had a discussion with the acting director of ICE, and he reiterated that every Venezuelan on that plane was a known member of the TDA. So a lot of officers, a lot of criminal investigators, special agents who've done this for decades, looked at the intelligence information, the criminal investigation information, all the various social media and surveillance and government records and public records, and they are confident that they're all members of the TDA.
What's going on here? Is he hung over from Saturday night having a wild party time? He's not shaved. He just looks like dog shit. He can't talk. It's nightmare fuel here. This is someone who is a law enforcement or prior law enforcement officer who certainly knows about due process, certainly understands the justifiable constitutional restrictions on law enforcement, because in this country, as part of the litany of personal rights and liberties that are protected by the Constitution of the United States, of which are the presumption of innocence. And that's why it needs to be proven in a court of law, because we are presumed to not be criminals. It has to be proven to a court that we are before adverse action can take place on the part of government. It shouldn't be easy for the government to levy these types of actions against people who are here, whether they be citizens or not. It should not be easy. The burden of proof, and it's why it's a burden. The burden is on the government to prove it before taking action. And you do that in a court of law. They circumvented that. They just shoved them on a plane and made off with them. And it's all under the guise of this Alien Enemies Act from 1789, which has only been invoked 3 times. War of 1812, World War I, and disgracefully during World War II, when Japanese Americans were sent to internment camps by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Disgraceful, disgusting. And now Donald Trump's doing it to others. And who else is going to get, do they just ring up people and send them away? They only have to prove that they're citizens or prove that they're not citizens. It's just, we say they're gang members, so they're gang members. And now we're learning that more than 50% are verified not gang members. People who worked in hair salons and people who were working construction, people who were not criminals. But they have to sell it as terrorism. They have to sell it as something it's not to justify it to the American people. And people need to be paying attention. That's why your media diet, I believe, should be more independent media than it is corporate media. And also, you need, I think the onus is on all of us to share this type of content, whether it be my video or the actual claims, the actual clips. You can make arguments on social media explaining what is taking place. You don't just have to share a YouTube video. It's on all of us to stand in the gap for people who don't have a voice. And these people, of all people, do not have a voice. The jackbooted thugs, the armed agents of the state, are oppressing them, destroying their lives, disappearing them to foreign supermax prisons. Anyway, what do you think? I would love to know. You can comment below. That'll help to share this content with new possible viewers. The algorithm does its mysterious thing. I would appreciate that very much. You can also call my voicemail line. Leave a fewer than 3-minute voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Follow me on social media if that's your thing. I'm at Dollemore. I'd love to see you there. And I will see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.